Okay, Amanda Staveley is actually reportedly very close to completing a takeover of Newcastle United worth £350 million. This is her third bid, and she's heading a consortium that includes Saudi oil money, and it's really interesting. I think the coronavirus pandemic has forced Mike Ashley's hand to the table. Because football isn't being played and no revenues are being generated, and basically it's costing money to run the club. And Mike Ashley's other retail businesses aren't making much money either. I think his hand has now been forced. Now, Amanda Staveley's been here before, we know. We reported on her bid back in 2017, 2018, and it got to a very, very close stage in January, and it just didn't quite get over the finish line. Peter Kenyon's come along with a couple of bids. Bin Khalid's come on along with a bid. There's been other interested parties that have gone unnamed, but there have been other bids on the table, and the club has been up for sale at this point. On this exact time, about 4 years, the club has been up for sale. But I think the coronavirus pandemic and the lockdown on international football, I think, is forcing Mike Ashley's hand to the negotiating table. And I actually honestly believe that, yes, we could see Amanda Staveley and her consortium take over Newcastle United for £350 million. There have been various theories put forward about why her previous two bids failed, especially the first bid, which was, so close to being successful. How different would Newcastle United's last couple of years been had she actually got control of that club? Now, it is interesting. Newcastle United have got past the fourth round for the first time, I think, since Mike Ashley's owned the club in the FA Cup. Now, we don't know if the FA Cup is going to continue to be played for the rest of this season. We just don't know that. But they finally started to break ground in the cup competitions. They sort of stabilised their league position. Because under Mike Ashley's ownership in 13 years, they've had 2 relegations from the Premier League. The value of the club is halved from where it was at its peak. And the closest they've been to silverware was early on in Mike Ashley's ownership under Alan Pardew, but they actually haven't been really close at all. They haven't been close to silverware since the late 90s. So the club has declined on the playing field, and value-wise, it was one of the most valuable clubs. In fact, it was the second most valuable English club and one of the top 10 or top 20 valuable clubs in European football at its peak. It shows how far down the pecking order Newcastle have fallen. Now, in Newcastle's favour is they, rarely don't sell out a home game. They have a very loyal, very, very loyal fan base. But in the last season or so, they've started showing some empty seats and some more than just online discontent. They're starting to stay away from games. The fan base has been through thick and thin with this club for 60-odd years without silverware, without success. And they keep turning up. And the North East, and Newcastle in particular, has produced so many great players who've represented England and gone on to win trophies at other clubs, which is frustrating, I think, for Newcastle fans. Is you've had Peter Beardsleys and Alan Shearers and others come through the club, but go on to better things elsewhere. And that's the problem, is they've been great at scouting talent, but in recent years, the youth facilities are definitely needing investment. The training ground needs investment. And I think the club structures need changing and investment. And from what's been reported, it looks likely that if this consortium is successful, headed by Amanda Staveley, then we could see a lot of money pumped into Newcastle United. And, I've been following this story for 2.5 years. I'm so surprised that Mike Ashley hasn't just sold the club sooner, but I think his hand has been forced. And I think English football will be for the better without him in it. But we'll see what happens. We've been here before with bids where they've got very, very close, but I think this is the closest we've got. And it's been very kept under wraps really, really well. But because there's no football taking place and there's no transfer market, there's no Champions League knockout stages, there's no Europa League knockout stages, there's no FA Cup, later rounds going on, there's no football going on. This is something that the media can now focus on. I think we're close. And I think Peter Kenyon will be frustrated that he didn't, get in there. And in the fullness of time, we'll find out why all those previous bids fell at whatever hurdle. We will find out why the parties either withdrew their bids or they didn't complete. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But for now, thank you very much for watching. If you are a Newcastle United fan, I know a lot of Newcastle fans have been asking me to talk about, will he sell? I think this lockdown has forced his hand. Economically, he has to sell this club to prop up his other businesses. But I'm going to leave that there. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Place your thoughts below. And I will have some more videos for you very, very soon.